So welcome to our workshop dedicated to upgrading the smartness of buildings. I have the pleasure to co-chair this workshop today with Nerea Gomez from ECTP. I will just go very quickly through the agenda and then we'll leave the floor to Pierre-Antoine Vernon from CINEA, our project officer, who will open the session. Then we'll have a short presentation of our project, Smart Build for You, by Nerea, and my colleague Clémentine Couja will present the work we have done in this project with our task forces. Then we'll have project pitches by 8 EU-funded projects to try to keep you alive during this pitch session. We'll split it in two. So we have the break in the middle. We have 4 project pitches, then a panel discussion, the break, and again 4 project pitches and a panel discussion. Then we'll have an interactive session managed by Vito, where we hope you will help us defining our priorities with regard to R&I activities related to smart buildings. And finally, Emmanuel François will close this session with a keynote speech on data governance. Okay, so I hope, Pierre-Antoine, you can hear us.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the floor is yours, Pierre-Antoine.
Thank you. So I do not see the button to start sharing, so...
Let me think. You have a little screen at the bottom, close to the mic icon. Maybe I have to stop sharing first.
Screen. Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
What about now? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So, good morning, everybody from Brussels. Thank you for inviting me to this workshop. It's this workshop and the project Smart Build for EU is taking place in a broader context of support of the European Commission for the smartness of buildings. So I'm going to present for 10 minutes our continued support for to make European buildings smarter. So my name is Pierre-Antoine Vernon. I work at CINEA for the Life Clean Energy Transition Program and previously for Horizon 2020 Energy Efficiency, under which Smart Build for EU was funded. So our support to the smart buildings dates back from long ago, but there was a turning point in the year 2018, a year that seems so distant now, although it was not so long ago. What happened in that year? There was the EPBD revision, which introduced somewhat limited changes to the directive, but introduced the Smart Readiness Indicator. So that was legislative change, but also it was a signal that building smartness matters and not just energy performance. And suddenly this issue, this concept that was not present in EU legislation before, required to identify what it was about and who was concerned. So we had already for 2 years tried to map smart building projects, and we had realized that we had funded some 64 projects, giving them almost €500 million under 35 different topics. So although they were tackling the same challenge. So that's how we had the idea of a call for proposal to map out the smart building innovation across Europe, to identify the main initiatives, to promote the Smart Readiness Indicator and to support its implementation, and to suggest priorities, further priorities for research, innovation, and market uptake. So the result of this call for proposal is the project Smart Build for EU, which started in October 2020, and to my great satisfaction, tackles all the challenges that we were expecting in the topic. Among the main achievements of the project, in my view, is the database of members of the smart building innovation community. Last time I checked, there were 262 members, but it may have increased since then. The fact sheets on smartness upgrades for buildings, which give concrete cases of possible renovation. The idea to maybe investigate further some issues that did not get all the attention they deserve, maybe like the co-benefits of smart buildings. All the work that they have done on working groups on major issues affecting smart buildings, which are resulting in white papers that will be very helpful to guide policy and topics in the future, and this research and innovation roadmap that they are putting together at the moment, hopefully with your help. So the project was funded under Horizon 2020 Energy Efficiency. Now the people who were managing this program, this part of the program at least, have moved to life and clean energy transition, and the rationale of this strand of the LIFE program has remained the same. So breaking market barriers, changing regulatory fundamentals, improving government capacities and skills at all levels, mobilizing investments, and finding innovative approaches to implement the relevant EU legislation. So our sub-program is under LIFE. I want to stress that it is very similar to Horizon 2020 energy efficiency. I want to do that for a reason, which is that at the end of the program Horizon 2020, which was mature by many respects, we were receiving a lot of proposals, and under the present strand of LIFE, which is by many respects operating with the same rules, we are receiving very few, as if maybe we were not on the map, or if potential applicants were expecting different rules than what they had known before. So as an idea for this new period, we have almost 1 billion euro to be compared with the 800 million that were under Horizon 2020 energy efficiency, and this money at the time was also used to fund the innovation actions. So there is even more funding than under the previous period for smart building projects. So as I implied, we are continuing our support to smart building projects. In 2021, we had a topic called Smart Ready, dedicated to supporting the implementation of the Smart Readiness Indicator. The consequence is that we selected 4 projects that whose name I cannot disclose now because they are still at grant agreement preparation phase, but I hope that you will warmly welcome them in the smart building innovation community. They will start in autumn, so quite soon, and they will need close cooperation with DG Energy and with Smart Build for EU, considering their focus on the SRI implementation. That was 2021, but in 2022, our support continues. This time, we support projects supporting the improvement of energy performance certificates and smart readiness indicators. The idea is to make them more useful, to create synergies between them, to improve their methodologies for calculation, and to make them matter more in investment decision and in building valuation. So we have 2 scopes. One of them is rather focused on the public side of implementation, member states, implementation by member states, by adapting these instruments to their national context, to investigate some specific policy designs, to consult stakeholders, to coordinate EPC and SRI policies, etc. The scope B is rather focused on supporting their uptake. So the idea is, for example, to have integrated EPC and SRI data collection by auditors or whole certification processes to train building auditors, to promote improvements for building evaluation, to build trust among homeowners, and to engage stakeholders. So what we want at the end is better user acceptance, more coherence between these tools, and a more comprehensive and faster uptake of the SRI. So for this call, you still have a bit of time. The deadline is on the 16th of November. The topic I just presented is only one of the 18 open ones. You can have more detail on the info session recording that's available here. And I want to stress the funding rate that you can expect is 95%. So pretty close to what you could experience under Horizon 2020. And applications are made via the funding and tenders portal. So I hope I stuck to my 10 minutes. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good workshop.
Thanks a lot, Pierre-Antoine. Merci. So now, let's try to share my screen again. Okay, so let me just put this stop. Hold on. Sorry, technical. Because I have to share my screen with the audience. What can they see? As you can see, I'm not really used to that, okay? But we'll get there. Okay, I lost them, I think. Ah, no, they are here.
No, they're here.
Okay, now, where do I share my screen?
Go on.
Wait.
Okay. But I don't mind. If you want to put in presentation mode before to this.
Yeah, but then this one I have to take it back here. Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. I hope you can see our screen again. So now I leave the floor to Nerea.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for being here and being part of this workshop. My name is Nerea Gomez and I work for ECTP, which is the European Construction Technology Platform. And I will briefly introduce you the Smart Build for EU project. Okay, in a few words, the project, sorry? No, okay, yeah. In a few words, Smart Build for You started in October 2020 and will last 3 years and a half. And the main objective is to support the coordination of the European Smart Buildings Innovation Community. Concerning our consortium, the project is led by ECTP, and together with us, we count with Double Innovation and R2M Solution from France, Europe Research in Italy, and Vito in Belgium. And we are also surrounded by 5 linked third parties, ISM, Cardiff University, LIS, TNO, and VTT, who are all of them bringing their expertise and the coverage of Europe in order to bring as many stakeholders as possible. Okay. The main activities of the project start with mapping and consolidation of the SBIC. This is how we used to call the Smart Building Innovation Community. Okay. Yeah, no. So the main objective of this activity is to promote the key innovators and innovations concerning the smart buildings, and also bring interested people and making them start exchanging and working. Based on that, we have the second activity, which is knowledge sharing and supporting activities for the SPIC. Here, the objective is to bring interested stakeholders around the table and making them work on the challenges about the smart buildings. This is why we have organized task forces and workshops to produce white papers addressing those challenges and proposing recommendations or solutions to progress on the smart building sector. Then the third activity is more technical. It's the contribution to the promotion, experimentation, and rollout of the SRI as a base for the smart building business case. The SRI, as you may already know, is the Smart Readiness Indicator, and it's a common European scheme for rating the smart readiness of buildings. We want to start on that and going even beyond. So we have produced, or we are trying to produce, a list of certain number of co-benefits that, in addition to the SRI smart technology projects, including some key factors such as energy efficiency, comfort, and health. Okay. And last but not least, the fourth activity is the research and innovation roadmap and policy recommendations. So based on the rest of activities that I have already mentioned, the objective is to address those challenges and provide policy recommendations directly to the European Commission and also the member states. And also we have several communication and dissemination activities to enhance the visibility of the SBIC on our project. Okay. I don't know if you can make this bigger because it...
Ah, get here. Okay, use this one.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So here in this slide, you can see some of these examples of promotion activities. We have organized many webinars in collaboration with big platforms such as Build Up or Leonardo Energy, also workshops, as the case of today, for example. And we are producing projects and technology brochures in order to promote the smart building projects and their outcomes. All of them are available on our website. Concerning the contribution to the promotion of the SRI, the main objective is to support its adoption in order to address the lack of clarity and in the marketplace about the benefits of smart services and smart technologies. Thus, we have been working on a list of co-benefit indicators associated to smart buildings, and now we are working on technology solution packages for these smart buildings with a performance assessment in order to demonstrate the added value of the smart buildings, also promoting a business case, foster the marketplace. And all of this will serve us, or is serving us as training material and workshops that we are organizing on the SRI and practical testing. For the moment, we have organized 2 workshops at national level in Spain and France. And now I take the opportunity to announce that this 21st of September will take place the Italian session. Last but not least, we are also developing a research, innovation, and policy roadmap in order to identify and tailor the key priorities for the European support to research, innovation, and marketplace in the smart buildings in order to support the European Commission and also the member states to gain a better understanding about it. The main idea is to increase the implementation potential and chances for success of the priority actions through these synergies of the project framework of European and also international initiatives. And that's all from my side. I would like to take this opportunity also to invite you to join our community, the SVIC, if you haven't done it yet. And if you have any question or you would like to get in contact with us, you will find us on the main social media, or you can contact via email. And that's all. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Clémentine Poujard from The Well Innovation. So we are a French consulting company, and we're involved in the Smart Build for EU project. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the work we have done with the task forces that we set up in the Smart Build for EU project. So the objective, how we worked, then I will list the topics that we covered so that you can see all the aspects covered and where you can find this information, because all the report that we elaborated will be public. And I will give you an overview of the contributors to these task forces and how we will use this work in the final steps of our project. Okay, so we set up 4 task forces in the Smart Build for EU project. The objective is to identify some transversal issues and also some possible solutions to address these issues. And the second objective was also to share some good practices between European experts related to smart buildings and more specifically between European projects. 4 task forces. Task force 1 is focused on interaction between the smart building and the end users. Task force 2 on efficient building operation. Task force 3 is focused on the interaction between the smart building and its external environment. And the last task force addressed really cross-cutting issues such as business model and financing models, data governance, or education. So the principle, we set up these task forces at the beginning of the project. The main principle is that it was on a voluntary base. Each task force addresses one topic during one semester, and this is organized along 3 main online workshops. So initially we had planned, of course, to have physical workshop, then the pandemic's broken, but it was a very good site for us because in the end, online, we managed to have much more people from across Europe and diverse horizons. So it was quite an asset for these online workshops in the end. And the outcome of this semester of work on each topic is the elaboration of a white paper that is then released publicly. And I will show you. So how did we work for each semester and each task force? So at the beginning, so over 6 months, at the beginning, we had the first online workshop to define the scope. So what is the topic we want to address this semester? And what is the available resource? What is the state of the art on the topic? Then the second workshop was more focused on identifying the barriers and the drivers related to the topics defined. And the third and final workshop was focused on identifying gaps related to research and innovation, but also scaling up and regulation that could help support the topic. After these 3 workshops, we produced a draft white paper that goes into review to our partner Vito. And then we share it during an open consultation phase. The last one will come in a few weeks, so we'll get back to it a bit later. And then we include the feedback received from this open consultation into a final white paper that is then released publicly. So for the online workshops, we use the concept board tool. So it's a brainstorming online tool that enables to every participant to put some their inputs on the board, and then we could group the ideas together. And in the second step, we had people vote to try to identify the key ideas during the brainstorming. So now I'm going to list briefly the topics that we cover. On Task Force 1, so Task Force 1 is focused on interaction between the smart building and the users. The topic A was focused on end-user acceptance and attractiveness. Topic B on enhanced quality of life for occupants, and topic C on responsive end users. That's to say more than providing information, but leading to behavioral change. So for each task force, the first 2 topics, A and B, the white papers are already available online. For the third one, we have just finalized the draft. They are now in review by Vito, and in a few weeks, they will be released for open consultation. This means you can download the paper. It's around 10 to 15 pages, and then you can fill in an online form to give your feedback. Do you think that we missed some specific aspects? We should add some specific questions. So you can feedback on this, and we invite you to do it. Task Force 2 focused on efficient building operations. So topic A was focused on interoperability, topic B on optimization of building costs, and topic C on smartness to reduce buildings' environmental impact. Topic 3 focused on, Task Force 3 focused on interaction between the smart building and the external environment. The first topic was focused on providing flexibility to the electricity grid. Topic B was focused on energy practices, new energy practices and energy communities. And topic C focuses on data-driven indicator with a specific highlight on the Smart Readiness Indicator. Finally, Task Force 4 that deals with cross-cutting issues. Topic A deals with financing and business models. Topic B about data governance, security, and privacy. And finally, topic C about education. So I invite you to go to the website and see all the material that is available. And if you subscribe to the community as Nerea promoted, you will receive the highlights when we release the next white papers. So who participated to the elaboration of this white paper? Who was in the task forces? So in total, we had 184 people contributing so far. This includes people from the Smart Build for EU consortium, people from the expert board that we set up at the beginning of the project, and volunteers that joined the task forces. On the first topic A, we try to make a bit more precise analysis of the contributors. So you can see that we have a good half of people coming from technical centers and academia, but we have also many contributors from private businesses and some from industrial associations. And also, we were quite happy with the coverage, but this is very specific to one topic. I guess in the end, we covered much more countries than that, I hope. Within this audience, we had many European projects. This is not an exhaustive list, but just to give you an overview that we had very good contributions for ongoing European projects. And I would like to thank all the co-chairs. So every topic was co-chaired by two persons, one from our consortium and one from the rest of the community. So you can see a lot of people get involved, many from research centers and university, but not only, we have also some people from private companies and industrial associations. So what are we going to do next with these white papers? So we worked on identifying barriers and drivers on different topics. In the white paper, you have a synthesis of the gaps, the research and innovation gaps that we identified. So they are organized in categories: research and development gaps, demonstration, scaling up and industrialization, awareness raising, regulation, and certification and standardization. So based on this list of gaps among the 12 white papers, we are elaborating the strategic research agenda, and Stein will present it in more detail in the second part of this session this morning. We will discuss the priorities that are proposed. And the second final deliverable related to that will be the policy recommendation that we will release at the end of the project. So we are starting to work on that. And that's it for the overview on the task forces and white paper. Thank you.
Many thanks, Clémentine. All right, so as I introduced earlier, we had split this session in two. So we will start with part one, which is focusing on upgrading smartness of existing buildings through innovations for legacy equipment. And we have 4 projects in that session. And then we have a second part on smart operation and building dynamic optimization, again, with 4 projects. So I hope time-wise it will be okay, because we have a lot of interesting information to present. So may I remind the speakers that you have roughly 8 minutes per presentation. After that, we'll have to cut your speech, unfortunately. But let me first welcome our moderator, Samra Madori, who is the CEO of Brainbox AI. Sam, if you want maybe to come and say a few words about yourself, and then you have this nice
Perfect. I have my instructions.
Real-time adjustment.
Yeah. So we'll, first things first, I've been told part of my job is to keep it to 8 minutes so that everyone gets their chance, because the worst part is the last two people down here are going to be squeezed, that's not good. So thank you. I think I saw some of you yesterday during the presentation, but thank you for the welcome. For those that don't know, Brainbox AI, we're a Canadian-based technology company focused on bringing autonomous artificial intelligence to the building management systems, specifically the HVAC control systems. So thanks for having us here. This is like the room of our brothers and sisters. I think we definitely, in a small country like Canada, don't have all this activity going on. So this is amazing, amazing stuff. I think Europe leads the way as usual on this kind of initiative. So we'll just get right into to make sure we keep the time. And so we'll welcome the first guest from Domos, Dominic Gabiud. Is this, yeah.
Just have to press the flashlight.
So, hello everybody. My name is Dominic Gabiud. I'm professor in a Swiss university and the coordinator of the project Domos that I would like to introduce you in a few slides. Well, so a few words about the context of smart building. You probably know it at least as good as I do, is that the digitalization is progressing in building, but I think we can say that it is progressing in an uncoordinated way. You may install smart home technologies, you may have your heat pump with its own application, and so on. So the building is going digital, but in a very scattered way, let's say. And also, if you look to energy appliance at a technical level, you will see a huge heterogeneity of protocols, security mechanisms, operation models, data model, and so on. And if you look to energy management, what you have to do is you have to orchestrate the different equipments. So if you have silo solutions, this is not appropriate. And also in building, you have needs beyond energy management. For example, an energy dashboard, energy performance assessment, preventive maintenance, possibly non-energy services. And in this context, our idea is to develop an operating system for building. The OS in Domos stands for operating system. You do not have to understand it as a new Android or a new iOS. But the idea is the same, an operating system abstract for application, the access to the hardware. So for example, when you develop an Android app, you don't have to care about details of accessing the localization, for example. This is something similar that we want to do. And you should understand this operating system as a mediation layer where you can plug in any appliance in the building, and you can also plug in any service capable to work with any appliance. Well, I mean, I make it very simple, but the idea is really this. So what is our solution? I will explain it in a rather simple way. What we want to elaborate is a digital nameplate for a building. So you have to imagine this very concretely. For each building, you have a URL. When you click on this URL, you have a description of the energy topology in the building, and you have also hyperlinks to monitoring and control points in the building. And we have a nomenclature, an ontology, a vocabulary that is understandable by the applications. So this is what we developed. The digital nameplate is called the building description. And to make an abstract access to equipments, we used the Web of Things approach promoted, developed by the World Wide Web Consortium. What is the relation with the SRI? One of the ideas is that we have SRI, which is about digitalization in the building, as a building description, as I said before. So instead of stating in some document that you may control and monitor X, Y, Z in the building, you just have a building description with links, with hyperlinks to online real-time control and measurement. Of course, you have a security policy so that, it's not enough to have the digital SRI to monitor or to activate, clearly. Okay. A little bit of technologies that we have made there. The Web of Things monitor an appliance or a device or a group of devices as a collection of property that can be read or written, as a collection of action that can be executed, and as a collection of events to which an application can subscribe and be notified on occurrence. And so this is for what is a thing description. It's basically for each property, it says which Modbus address, packet, HTTP, MQTT, whatever, has to be sent and received in order to read that property. For the building descriptions, we develop our own ontology, the Domos Common Ontology, which is a language to write building descriptions based on existing ontologies. I don't want to enter into that details now. So the lessons, which is the last part of what I have to address. So the good thing is that we have 5 demonstrators and this concept basically works. Also, the good thing is that we used as much as possible what already exists, and we limited our invention or to the smallest possible subset. What is less positive, I would say, is that we have to, the long-term vision is that if you want to include in that system the model X of a heat pump, you could go to GitHub or whatever and import the things description describing the document TD directly. This is not the case today. So you have to do to craft it yourself for your application. And also the DCO, so the ontology, is a language, and the language becomes useful when many people speaks it, and we do not have many DCO speakers at that time, so its use is limited. And I think I feel this is the last one. I think if we want to industrialize energy services, we need interoperability. If we want to have interoperability, we need standards. And really the question is how to start up kind of this standard, because a standard is useful only when it's applied at large scale. So we have a startup problem. Okay, thank you for your attention.
How do we welcome our first online guest, Dimitra? So up next, Dimitra Jorgataki from Movie Tech and the Phoenix program.
Thanks. So, can you all hear me? Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dimitra. You should be able to share your slides now.
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so hello, I am Dimitra Georgakaki. I represent Ubitech and more specifically a SAD team, and I will present to you some initial results and lessons learned from the Phoenix project.
Maybe
Initially,
the presenter, well, the full slideshow, so we can see because
sorry.
No worries.
Is it better now?
That's perfect. Thanks, Dimitra.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with some Phoenix facts and main objectives. Then I will talk about the innovations of the projects, the lessons learned, and finally some action points for our future plans. So Phoenix is a project that has to do with cost-effective and user-friendly building innovations with higher applicability to upgrade smartness of existing buildings with legacy equipment. The key stakeholders of this project are the building occupants, the building managers, ESCOs, and aggregators. It involves 12 partners and 5 pilot sites. And the main objectives are a seamless and secure integration of devices and systems to a unified data platform, the creation of building knowledge and increase of building automation and intelligence, the provision of cost-effective energy and non-energy services, the creation of new business models and exploitation strategies, and of course, last but not least, the increase of people awareness towards smart buildings. Here I present our main architecture of the so-called Phoenix Smartness Hub, which represents the unified hub of all the data coming either from the devices or from external sources, such as, for example, the weather. All these are hosted in the data ingestion layer. Above that, we have the function layer, where all our possible energy services are developed and maintained, with the most important ones being self-consumption, flexibility optimization, comfort prediction, and predictive maintenance. And finally, on the upper layer, the business layer, we have the access point of the aforementioned stakeholders that are given specific visualization dashboards. And of course, the new business models are inferred from all this functionality. The innovations of this project include the new service offerings for real-time management and control of buildings, with the aim that the level of building smartness is increased. So this increase of smartness, of course, on the basis of the SRI as we know it, is by taking into account the actual measurements from the building environment, combined with advanced analytics in order to extract the accurate knowledge for the optimal decision making. So this is more relevant to a data-driven approach. It includes, as I mentioned, a suite of different energy and non-energy services made available to different stakeholders that enable the promotion of different business use cases. Here are some sample print screens from our visualization dashboard. So it is a customized web-based platform that combines descriptive and advanced predictive energy analytics and informative charts according to the chosen smart area that the user wishes to navigate to. Of course, as you can imagine, this platform can support the addition of buildings and more areas or zones, as we call them. The lessons learned from this project is that there is room for improvement towards the automated calculation of SRI instead of just using the traditional Excel file provided by the European Union. The smart energy and non-energy services based on AI and machine learning models can be treated as a bundle of services that target the building occupants and help them improve their energy behavior through a constant automatized human building interaction. The visualization dashboards that can be customized by users provide a friendly and intuitive way to increase user engagement and, of course, the adoption of smart building technologies in general. Our future plans include the data integration from all the pilot sites to the dashboard, the services integration and refinements with the dashboard, and the constant feedback from users and testers to refine these energy and non-energy services, which is a recurring process. Thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome you for any questions.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks a lot, Dimitra.
Thank you very much.
Do you have me joining or what? No? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Nuno, you should be able to share your screen. If Dimitra, you can stop sharing, please. Perfect.
Yeah, Karin, I think I do not have the share option on my side, at least.
It should, now that Dimitra has stopped sharing, you should see it. It's close to your mic icon at the bottom.
Okay.
Do you have it or not? Having said that,
Yeah.
I don't have it here. Okay.
Can you see it already?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm Nuno Mateus from EDP-NEW, the Energy Research Center of the EDP Group, and I'm here today as a coordinator of Smart2B project. So, about Smart2B, the project just began one year from now, and will take 3 years duration, a budget around 4 million euros. We are 11 partners from 8 diverse countries, and we have 5 pilots to test all the Smart2B innovations, comprising 3 residential pilots in Portugal and in Denmark, and 2 additional non-residential pilots in Spain and also in Sweden. So, what about Smart2B and why we bring Smart2B? Of course, because we would like to be part of the energy transition, and because of the actual paradigm related to the building sector that have low smartness levels, they are inefficient, low digitalization, and they do not make use of their flexibility potential, and of course, with all of these, they are a passive element of our energetic system, and with Smart2B concept that consists in the development of all ecosystem comprising devices, platform, and also intelligent layer of services. We want to make the buildings an active part of the energetic system, enable them with bidirectional communication capabilities with the grid but also replying and answering the building's needs. And with that, we hope to upgrade the smartness of the buildings and optimize the energy management in the buildings. So since we are only reaching 1 year of the project, of course, if I have to tell you now, the main key exploitable result of this project will be the whole ecosystem comprising the devices, the services, and the platform. And in the following slides, I will give you some additional details about each of these layers. So in the first layer of Smart2B, the device layer, it's basically IoT interfaces and gateways that allow us to connect the existing appliances and the systems that exist in the buildings to our platform. We have 2 different approaches depending if we are dealing with residential and non-residential buildings, but essentially we are developing smart plugs, AC plugs, switch, meters, and some actuators that can not only connect but also control some of the devices. Then these devices will be connected to our platform through the gateways that allows seamless integration, but the platform also has some knowledge extraction and control capabilities. And finally, we enter in our 3rd layer, that is the service layer, that have some AIs and machine learning capabilities that allow us to develop mainly 9 different services that are directly connected to the all SRI impact criteria. But just trying to resume our services, the main idea here is to provide some AI capabilities to improve the energy management in the buildings, to unlock the flexibility potential of the buildings, to improve the indoor air thermal comfort and air quality of the buildings, and to give some hints to the users about predictive maintenance needs. And finally, we have a smart performance assessment and advisor that is the service that is directly linked to all the SRI criteria, since it's connected to the systems and the equipments installed in the building, and do an on-time assessments of the SRI level, and give some hints and advice to the users about how to use the device and how to improve the SRI, overall SRI level of the building. Moving to the next layer, it's about the user interaction, client engagement, and social innovation. That is basically a mobile and a web-based application. I will just show you a small print screen of the application that is under development at the moment. But in this app, we would like to include mainly three models. The first one that, of course, gives to the users information regarding all the connected device, energy production, energy consumption of the building, as well as the temperature, humidity, and CO2 consideration inside the buildings. And then we have a user feedback model that allows the users to give us feedback about their thermal preferences, but also from their preference in terms of the use of the devices, so on. So we can, based on this information, we can adapt our optimization of the system and the control of some of the equipments in the building. And then finally, we have a gamification component that is also implemented in this application that basically aims to deal with the lack of engagement with users with this kind of energy applications. So we are trying to apply game theory to this kind of context in order to improve the user engagement. Finally, we move for the, I would say, conclusion slide, that since we are in just finalizing the first year, we hope to begin the pilot phase in 3 months from now. So what I can tell you now is that the user-centric approach that we are using in Smart2B, I think it's a great asset here that will allow us and give us some confidence that what we are developing will be well accepted by the users. And we hope in the following months to integrate all the 3 different layers of smart be in our pilot, the devices that will allow us to connect all the legacy equipments, storage systems, electric vehicles, and energy renewable systems in our platform that will have the capability to receive user feedback information, but also to give to the DSO some information essentially regarding the flexibility potential of the buildings. And finally, providing the required services for the users in terms of flexibility, some advice from the Smart Performance Assessment Advisor, and optimization of their energy management needs, and finally, providing the required indoor air quality comfort. And that's it. Thanks for your time. Your questions will be welcome in the end.
Sorry, the mic was off. You couldn't hear the round of applause, but thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nuno. We're welcoming Amin Mohammed from NTNU for the Collective project. The floor is yours.
Hold on. I have to stop.
Full screen. Right. Yeah.
Thank you. But by the end of the session, I will be really good at that. Huh? So we're just putting the slides where they should be. Okay, now I share it.
Hello everyone, I'm Amin. I'm coming from NTNU University in Norway, and I have the pleasure of coordinating a project called Collective Intelligence for Energy Flexibility. This morning I came with an example in my mind. I give it a try that might explain brief what the project is about. So yesterday in the other venue we experienced during the break going for a coffee, and it was a long queue. Now imagine if in the rooms we had a light that turns green when the coffee is ready and the demand is low, and people then meaning that okay, now you can go for a coffee if you want, and if you decide based on your local conditions, based on your need to go for a coffee or not. This would not solve the problem of the queue, but it will reduce the demand during the breaks, because some people during this period would decide to go. And then if the light is red, then it means the coffee is not enough, or there is a queue, and it's better not to pack for a coffee. So now imagine the person at the coffee machine is having the control of that light. Okay, so she or he can turn it green or red based on looking at the tank of the coffee machine, or based on the price of the coffee on that day, or I don't know. Eventually, this person starts to develop knowledge that okay, the way I play with this switch, I can manage the queue, even if it's sunny or cloudy day, or it becomes a learning process for that person. So that's basically what we want to do in our project. And this is the scheme. So we have a component we call Edge Node. This is a component we bring to the buildings, where it integrates to some of the device at the building. It can go from a very simple, just smart plug and smart thermostat to a zero smart level building. up to integrating the DMS system of a large building. Then we have another component called cluster node, and this is the component that communicates with the edge node through a signal, simple signal communication. And so the cluster node never knows what's the indoor temperature at the edge node. The edge node will decide based on its own need and conditions what to do when it receives the signal. So how we think about this service can be applicable. It's of course by implementing such service, even a large building owner can become a player in the flexibility market. So meaning if there is a need for flexibility, they can send a signal to the network of the edge node and ask for flexibility. And over the time, it creates a history and learning process to optimize it to who and when communicate the signal. So again, this is the description of the two nodes. We have this package, hardware-software package that is under development. Actually, the installation is done now. And it's communicate with the edge devices. It's based on edge computing, so there is no cloud-based system here. And we have this mesh network of sensors provided by one of our partners that communicate also with this intelligent point edge node. And then it communicates to a cluster node. So that's more or less the project. It's we have 14 partners, 6 European countries, 4 years. We are at the end of the first year, at the beginning of the second year, and we have 4 pilot sites with 14 buildings for demonstration. And these are very diverse type of buildings, from residential, healthcare center, sport hall. There are schools. So we have very diverse type of buildings that we have the demonstration. And since it's edge computing, we don't need much computation. So we reduce the cost a lot, and also the privacy issues, since there is no cloud system that's collecting your personal data. We avoid that. So this is more or less the description. And about the SRI, of course, the idea is that we cover the 3 aspects of the SRI, where it's the occupant-centric aspect, where we have also a digital dashboard to allow the users to interact and give preferences to this intelligent node. It is also, they can also have set of, let's say, flexibility permission scheduled through that dashboard. And then we have the cluster node, where it has its own digital dashboard set up for users like large building owners, or it can be a DSO or an aggregator that use that service. So that said, we have promised or assessed our impact, but I hope the impact will increase now with the energy crisis and the energy prices that we have. So I know I call that a positive side, but of the energy price now, because also in Norway, energy saving was not really a big discussion when 3 years ago I started working in academy, and it was. But now it's a constant dialogue on the national TV, and energy savings approaches are very popular now and requested. Lesson learned. Keep it simple. I'm learning a lot. This is my first project. So in the communication, it's really simplicity is important. Also in terms of solutions that we develop, because complex problems need simple solutions. So we really try to also have the algorithms that we develop as light as possible, because we have also not much computation on the edge, and also the architecture and the whole solution to be as simple as possible, so it's scalable. The plan, so we are at the end of our first year, we have completed the installation. Now we start monitoring all the buildings to create a baseline for a year. And then we have 2 years of demonstration. There has been a large work on access to the building, user engagement, presentation to the users. We have also questionnaires and POE, post-occupancy evaluation questionnaires designed for understanding better the comfort, thermal comfort, and preference of the users. Yes, so also there is a special issue in applied energy that our scientific coordinator, Vahid Nik, is a guest editor. I'm also a guest editor there. So please, if we would welcome any scientific papers that you are developing in this special issue. So thanks for having me.
So thanks everyone for attending. So we have just 8 minutes. This is a project that UL Lisbon is coordinating, Pedro is coordinating, I'm the co-coordinator helping. This project goes within the theme of what we've seen this morning, and I would say the underlying question is accessing heterogeneous devices that are not IoT enabled or connected to open data to be controlled from the cloud. So I think that's our tone for everyone here mostly. In the case of and then each project I think presents its own different take to this problem or some differentiating factors. In the case of SATO, we are 16 partners. We have, I'm not going to name all of them, but we have what we think is a good mix between industry, academic, and then different providers. Like we have a BIM partner in the case SciFi from Spain, Siemens, Alborg, and Milano, etc. So it's a good mix. At the moment, we are halfway in the project, so it's a 4-year effort. We're in this 24th month, so we're in the middle. In terms of getting things done, it feels like we're slightly done. So what's our goal? Is like in other cases, create an open IT platform that accesses all IoT-enabled devices in the building. So this can go from appliances to EV charging, HVAC, etc. So that's kind of similar to what we've been seeing this morning. And then we have a big focus on automated assessment of the building and identifying opportunities for optimization. So I would say the differentiating factor we have is a very strong cloud-based platform because Pedro is from the computer science department, so we have a good collaboration in the project between IT and computer and AI special people who are experts in their area, and then the energy side, and then just in response to the call, of course, assessing a real-life energy demand of the buildings. Now, in terms of assessments, we have classified the assessments in the buildings into different classes, which I'll briefly describe. At the moment, we identified 40 types of assessments that we will try to test in our pilots. And also, of course, we have a significant and relevant SRI component because it's very important for the Commission to work on SRI. And our SRI concept and approach is to have an initial input manual of the SRI into the platform and the SATO ecosystem, and then try to achieve some automation in the SRI updating as the building becomes more enabled or smarter or readier or whatever is the best term. Now, when we assess things in buildings such as the efficiency of lighting in this room, the efficiency of the fresh air system. When we assess those things, we can focus on a performance assessment. We can do a fault assessment using the sensors in the building. So say the lights are faulty, and we can also do an energy consumption assessment. These assessments then have to be compared with something. Of course, that's another barrier I think we all face, which is we have a building and it's using a certain amount of energy. What do we compare it with? So there is this issue about creating or enabling historical databases of building energy consumption that can be used to see if this building is using a lot or little amount of energy. And as I think we know, energy labeling is still limited in its capability of being comparable with reality. So whatever is in the label, because it's very hard to do great energy labeling, it's an ongoing effort. It's not really a great comparison point, both for buildings, building systems, and also even for appliances. So when you have a label in a washing machine, you don't necessarily going to use the energy that's written in there in your actual use of the machine. Now, we have a platform that has levels. It's a stratified platform. On the lower level, you're accessing the building and the energy consuming devices. On the high level are the users and whatever we want to do. There are continuous assessments that are performed in the building. So we're probing the building to see its behavior, whether it's faulty, whether it's performing well or not. And then this number of assessments that's running in a given building is accessed and used by services of control, thermal comfort, flexibility that run on the platform and perform the goals of the platform. Okay. Now, how do we do the integration of new devices in the SATO system? Our goal is to be able to enable a system that automatically discovers the devices and adds and identifies new capabilities in the building, both in terms of the dynamic aspect of the SRI and things in the services we run in the platform, where new devices provide us new service opportunities. So there is this idea of also providing an amount of intelligence in that aspect. I can't really see the time, but I think I should be okay. Okay. So what have we learned in 2 years? Not a lot, I must say. So we learned that it's very hard to set up pilots, also because, as I put there, on the edge of building capabilities. So the problem, as far as we see it, and it's great that if you disagree, it's great, that we cannot go and enable IoT in standard buildings. I think we're going to have very limited results. So our fight is to get, let's say, buildings with automated opening of windows, buildings with automated shading. Otherwise, we don't feel we're getting very far. By the way, I'm referring now to service buildings, not residential buildings. Our project mixes both. Your projects also do that, as far as I understood. And I also think that's a mistake. We should split these projects and have residential projects and service projects. Otherwise, we're talking about cats and dogs or some other metaphor. We also have significant ambitions to use BIM as a platform, not only for maintenance and building data, but also visualizing energy performance in BIM. So we, as we move with the project, we are concise visualization. And of course, the problem that most of these energy systems in our pilots are not IoT enabled or open is a huge barrier. And at a lower level of lessons learned, this whole thing about KPIs is becoming like a tsunami of KPIs. We need the real KPIs, not hundreds of KPIs. This is a personal problem I've been having in the project. So we need like 5 or 6 of each, not 100, because at least I'm pretty stupid. So I just give me the essential ones. And of course, building users that are not energy, because they will become they become deaf to these things. They don't care. We have a real problem of communicating energy performance. That's one lesson learned. Now, what we see in the future. Our idea about future is we're not looking at the next 2 years. We're looking at what could be a next stage for our research effort in a perspective where we were successful. So if we are successful doing what we're doing in the pilots, we also see 2 movements of this platform. We can start looking at taking these concepts of assessments and services to the design phase. That could be interesting. because we need to design better buildings and we need to think about that, and different buildings, not always the same. So take the efforts to the design phase, and then take this approach to this very important topic of energy refurbishment. So doing a more tailored platform that attempts to facilitate energy refurbishment. There are significant challenges in data privacy to make it effective and try to eliminate these problems that happen as we collect data. If we don't collect it in a fully private way and anonymous, we then are stuck with non-anonymous data that we need to store. So it's Pedro's expertise. I hope I explained it relatively well, not very well. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. We will go on to the Prelude project. Next.
Just here. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Welcome everybody. My name is Iot Meter. I'm from Aalborg University. I sit there as an associate professor, so I do research and coordination of this project and teaching. Yes, Aalborg University is in Denmark. What is Prelude? Well, we got a very, I think, challenging task to sum up our big project in 7 minutes or 8 minutes, which is like a speed dating of projects. But I think we have actually afterwards very nice discussion. So I will try to speed through the project that consists of 21 partners, so it's quite big. And I will not go so much into detail. I will just focus on some of the areas of what we are doing. Focus areas are realizing energy efficiency. I put it as a first bullet point because in the recent past we were more focusing on designing efficiency in buildings. Now the focus is shifting towards realizing energy efficiency in buildings, which is very different. We can see that there is nowadays a problem with performance gap. Buildings are not operating as promised. So the design efficiencies we did, okay, we can do that, but in reality, buildings are not performing as we expect them to be. So this is the focus of this project, to realize energy efficiency. And I'm saying that I would say that it's not easy. I think it's more difficult than designing energy efficiency. The second point is data-driven building assessment. So what we do nowadays is we are doing different types of assessment of buildings. Everything is data-driven. I am a civil engineer with a building physics background, and nowadays we work with computer scientists, with data scientists. Actually, some of us become data scientists more and more nowadays, because this is what is required by doing this realization of energy efficiency, because everything is data-driven. The third thing is data transferability. We need to secure and investigate the possibilities for data transferability from the buildings to the technology enablers that are there waiting to be served to the building again. So we have to secure data transferability. The next one is about different building smartest inclusion. So my impression is that very often we address very advanced buildings with BMS, a lot of sensors, etc. In reality, if we focus now on residential buildings, as it was pointed out before by Guillermo, we have actually low technology buildings. There is no automation, low automation. In some of the cases, there is high automation, but it's very rare. And the same is about actually sensoring equipment and infrastructure in this building. It's rather low in most of the buildings that at least we had the pleasure to work with so far. And the last thing is about adaptable solution, which is based on the concept of modularity. And this is our concept of it, where we have a modular approach with expertise built in the modules that we have. Basically in the concept of the project, we have one layer that is about data acquisition from the buildings. We have our middleware solution that connects to the buildings, extract the information from the buildings, serve as a one point of let's say, data information for the technology enablers that are there. So this is our concept. And our another idea here is that the solution should be technology agnostic, because there are different IoT solutions in here in the buildings that we need to connect to. These are very often shielded. They have some kind of commercial API solution that you need to go in, connect, bridge the data, formalize the data, and serve it back to the technology enablers. It's not easy, but this is the reality, because the buildings here, if we talk about residential buildings, there are not so many. It's a big players. It's more fragmented. It's local. Per country, per region, you have a supplier of monitoring solutions. And this is because of the local maintenance, warranty issues, etc. So you cannot think that the residential market is like played by, ruled by big suppliers. It's too expensive for them. So there are local solutions that has to be grabbed, and the data from this solution has to be grabbed. So what my focus is not about this all technology enablers that we have here, because I have only 7 minutes. It's more about the physics solution, which is in the middle of the project, which is our middleware solution that can do real-time data acquisition and control. It is decision support system. I should maybe start with that. It can store historical data in it, and then it can also trigger simulation and forecasting engines. So this is what it can do. It has also some other features, such as, for example, data processing and computation and managing of the data. And after that, it has also a functionality of, let's say, visualizing the results by interface application, so mobile application user interface or web-based interface. I would say in preload, physics role uses most of the abilities that I have mentioned. So it really works as a middleware that is filling in the gap between the technology enablers and the buildings. So there is a big challenge for this tool in our project. Unfortunately, I am not responsible for developing the physics and application of it. It's another partner in the project. But I think it requires, it deserves our attention in this presentation, because without it, we would not have a prelude project. But not to leave the other exploitable results without mentioning. What we did, we have tracked that, or spotted that we have, including physics, we have around 16 technology enablers that can do basically all you do in other projects. So we do the energy optimization, forecasting, maintenance, forecasting, etc. Then we grouped it around 4 business use cases, which are, the first one is real-time monitoring for occupants and building managers. And this is the biggest group of the technologies that we have. The second one is about maintenance prediction maintenance. It's a smaller group of the technologies that we have. The third one is about aggregate data. And the last one is about renovation activities are the solutions for the buildings. So basically, our concept is flexible. It addresses different smartness levels of buildings that we have identified until now in the project. So over the first year, we've been looking into the demos, and we are trying, okay, what is the smartness level? What is there in the building? What additional components can we put in order to make them run with preload? So what you can see is we have actually significant amount of demonstration cases that are low-tech buildings. There are no automation, only humans can activate window opening, etc., or change this setting on the thermostat. And then we have some of the buildings that are on the higher end here that allow some automation, but it is not on the overall building level. It is more on the component level. Key conclusion and lessons so far. Well, when we take this middleware as the first thing to mention, it is challenging for middleware to communicate to IoTs, different ones. And it's not maybe what I know from those who are working with that, it's not mainly the connection and bridging to these commercial APIs. It's more about the data structure, missing data, shielding the sensors, etc. These issues are really challenging, but it's doable. Promises is that we can foresee that middleware really can take a lot of burden from these individual technology enablers when accessing the data. So if we can make this happen, then this part with adapting the algorithms should be possible as well. The third conclusion is that we believe that the solution should be flexible, because building demands or requirements or what they need is different. So it means our modular approach is actually fitting very well to what we can see the buildings actually want. We do not apply, for example, renovation measures to the high-end buildings that were built 2 years ago. So this part is out. So we should respect that the buildings will have different demands. At the moment, my personal conclusion is that if we would like to connect single building case by case with our pilot approach for the market as it is now, it is not feasible. So we need more openness for the pilot. We need more standard approaches for the data formats and for basically for the data to be handled afterwards by the other actors. And the last conclusion is about technology enablers that we have. They are really heavily dependent on the data availability from the buildings. So you cannot have them running without the data. It's not that there is no light in the tunnel. There is, because we can see there is more and more data availability, but it's coming quite slow, and we have to fight for it. So, so yes, this is it. Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, Otto Dan to Neil. Floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Niall Byrne. I'm with IES R&D based in Dublin, and I am the coordinator of the Autodan project. So the Autodan project, just to give a very quick overview at the start before I get into the slides, our main target audience for this project is both residential buildings and small to medium-sized buildings, because as Sam pointed out before our break, these make up the vast majority of buildings throughout the world and the built environment, but they're also typically forgotten about when we come time to energy audit and improve our buildings. So what we want, and then the other kind of key difference between them and larger buildings is there's typically no automation, and in residential buildings, people don't necessarily want automation. They want to be able to control their own building, do what they want to do themselves. So, you know, some people will turn the thermostat up before putting the sweater on, just the way people are. So for that reason, instead of doing artificial intelligence with automated control, we've actually augmented intelligence, which has taken all that artificial intelligence and all that learning and providing it as intelligence and as actionable items to the user, so they can make their own decisions, but informed by the data that we have provided them. So that's kind of the overarching philosophy of Autodan. So some key facts and figures. So like Sado earlier on, we're a 48-month project. We're currently bang on halfway through, so month 24. The overall total project cost is just over 5.5 million euros, of which just under 4.5 provided by the EU. We're 12 partners across 4 countries, so we're Ireland, Italy, Spain, and Turkey, with 6 demonstration sites, and everyone is invited to like our project website there. Just a quick mention of our demonstration sites. So, you know, one of the biggest challenges in this is getting the demonstration sites and being actually allowed to play with them. So you see we have a kind of a wide range of different buildings. We have a small theatre, a historic cultural theatre in Lissone, which is just outside Milan. We have a bunch of small, very small businesses from 2 to 10 people, really, actually from 1 to 10 people down in Greenogue and Aerodrome Business Park, which is just in South County Dublin. And then we have some A-rated buildings in North Dublin, close to the airport. And then we have 3 other kind of multi-residential buildings. But the nice thing about these is that they're aimed at more vulnerable societies. So the Delta Ecopolis building in the bottom left in Milan as well is aimed at older generations, older people. V Burgos here is a social housing residence in Burgos in Spain. And this Residencia Camino de Santiago, apologies for my terrible Spanish pronunciation, but that is a student accommodation also in Burgos. You might say as well that I said that these were all residential buildings. They're not all residential, there are the small commercial. And then there are multi-unit residentials, which are probably bigger than I first stated, but what we're doing here is we're looking at them at an apartment level. So it's not the whole building, it's apartment by apartment. So that the nice thing that lets us do that is these are all self-contained apartments, so they have their own heating system, cooling system, and then some very limited kind of district or central heating, domestic hot water, for example, is centralized. So our key project objectives, excuse me, I'm going to have to read these because I don't remember them off by heart. So the first one is to create a flexible, smart hardware infrastructure that can be applied to all small to medium-sized buildings. So like the Prelude project is to make this as kind of adaptable and flexible as possible so that we can play nice with any hardware solutions that are installed across multiple communication protocols to make this as adaptable as possible. The second one there is to develop an interoperable software architecture that can provide all the analytical capabilities needed to self-assess and self-optimize buildings in the EU. Thirdly, deliver augmented intelligence solutions to enable buildings and their users to become self-optimizing. Fourth of all, to create a live self-energy assessment method that incorporates operational monitoring, appliance system performance, and smart capabilities that will improve the accuracy of current energy assessment procedures. And finally, to make to accelerate investment in sustainable energy. So I'll go into each one of these in a bit more detail as I go through my slides. But just to give an overarching kind of idea of how all this fits together. So this is kind of the Autodam platform broken out by each of our objectives. So on the top left here, we have our smart hardware infrastructure. So that's smart appliances, BMS if there is one, IoT sensors, other kind of hardware things. These are all going to it's very simplified here, but they're going to communicate over a disparate range of communication protocols to iScan, which is essentially our cloud-based data layer in this project. And from there, it's going to be made available to our interoperable software architecture to do its analytical stuff. So we have 2 kind of levels of what we're calling, well, 2 levels of digital twin. So we have the building level performance digital twin, which I'll touch on in a minute. And then we have a pared back, almost appliance level digital occupancy model that takes into account appliance allows us to look at things like demand response and optimal timing for appliance use. The output of this of these analytical tools is going to feed into our self-energy assessment framework, which I'll touch on in a minute. And then multiple different stakeholders who we're going to communicate to through different means. So for building occupants, we have some nicely designed user experience dashboards or user experience design dashboards. Then we can communicate to ESCOs, facility managers and IoTs through energy optimization services and inputs. And then, of course, to accelerate the investment, we're going to communicate through ESCOs, EPCs, etc., up to the people who take care of the money. So going through each of these, so first of all, our Autodam smart hardware infrastructure. So we have multiple different kind of things that we typically see in a lot of buildings. So for example, our partner Schneider is providing our advanced monitoring system. Archlick are providing the smart appliances, smart plugs. We have what's called a traffic light system, which is very similar to Amin's very nice analogy there in his presentation earlier on. Basically, green means it's a good time for you to use your appliances. Amber, it's not so bad, and then red, you know, do at your own risk. But one other nice output of this project, it seems like that at the moment with energy prices, but one other nice output of this project is a smart Iot meter, which has been custom developed by one of our partners in Semicon out of Dublin. So this is a DIN-mounted clamp-on kind of one and 3-phase meter, so it does both, and that sits in your distribution panel in your house. And what this does is not just a regular smart meter, it has some artificial intelligence that allows it to do things like disaggregation at the meter level, so it can break down your appliance use, identify some optimization strategies, troubleshoot when things go wrong. But it also connects to a gas boiler meter that solves another big challenge that we have in that we don't know how to quantify simply and cheaply gas consumption. So we have a little kind of tiny ML machine learning device for that. The interoperable software architecture. So we have two analytical. So on the left here is the digital twin technology. I should say that that's a performance digital twin. It's not an asset or a BIM kind of related digital twin. And what we use this for is it mirrors the building, so we know we can forecast, for example, 2 days into the future based on future weather forecast, weather trends, see what it's going to do, and then optimize the energy consumption and make suggestions to the building user for tomorrow or the day after how they can use the least amount of energy possible. On the right here, we have a digital occupancy. The image I'm showing here is kind of a graph representation of what's going to look like. So in this example, we're testing some stuff. So we have some smart plugs that are attached to appliances, and it feeds back to a single virtual sensor here. And then we apply a lot of machine learning and very clever algorithms that have been developed by much cleverer people than me to disaggregate what each of these are on. So the idea in the end is that if we get a single meter reading from your house, we're going to be able to break that down and tell you when your different appliances are on at different times. And by doing that, what we hope to do then is forecast into the future. So we look to tomorrow's trends. We can look and say, okay, tomorrow we estimate your peak PV production is going to occur between, say, 12 and 2. We recommend to use these appliances at those times to offset your energy bills and save X amount of money. The live audit is being done by our colleagues Rina in Italy. And what this is done is kind of built off the ISO 52000 standard, which is your energy auditing standard coming down from the EPBD. And what we want to do is make that more dynamic and clever so that we can actually do this on an ongoing basis. So the nice thing about this is it's tied into our digital twin and our analytical tools, so it can be refreshed kind of on the fly as we need. So all of these different kind of KPIs and these different inputs to the overall algorithm for this can be updated kind of periodically. So anything with a watch beside it is kind of dynamic. It updates, and that is a nice evolution from the traditional, very static, do it once every 2 years kind of thing to tick a box that energy audits have become. So this this kind of update to this gives us a much more kind of ongoing and up-to-date review of the building. And then in terms of SRI and automation and improvement, we can take into account that kind of stuff. We can also take into account the appliances, which are typically not always considered. And this, in addition to being a more up-to-date and dynamic audit, it also helps us close the performance gap between predictive energy consumption and actual energy consumption. Augmented intelligence dashboards. So we need a way to communicate to the user. Engineers, for some reason, have a very bad name for being visual communicators. I guess it's deserved. But because of that, we got our universal experience team, our universal design team involved to create some dashboards. These are initial concepts that look a bit busy now, but we hope to test these with users. Of course, we had hoped to do this through workshops and everything with COVID, but that all got kind of shut down. So we were playing catch up a little bit. And if anyone wants any ideas on a future project, I would recommend a social science one between user experience people and engineers. So a very good project. So upcoming work, the installation of the hardware solutions in the demo sites has begun and is ongoing for the next couple of months. Ongoing development and testing of this digital occupancy model. So that graph representation I showed there, that's ongoing. Testing and validation of the user dashboards to make up for the lost time in COVID. And then testing and validation of the live audit KPIs. So I know I'm a little bit late, but thanks very much. And again, there's our project website, please.
All right, we're down to our last contributor, IBCom, Dimitrios.
Hi everyone, thanks for the introduction. My name is Dimitrios Dimos. I'm colleague with Niall in IS, and I'm here to present you IBCom project. Thank you very much for this invitation to participate. I'm coordinator of the IBCom. So IBCom is a Horizon 2020 funded project. We are 10 partners from 4 countries. Ireland, France, Italy, and UK. So our scope here is again similar with our sister project Autodan and all the other projects we saw today. From the title, you can tell intelligent building energy assets control for comfort, energy, and flexibility optimization. So very similar objectives here to reduce bills in a building or facility through energy savings and demand response, while improving occupant well-being and optimizing comfort. By leveraging IoT, data analytics, the efficient control of the building, while also enabling additional services such as EV charging optimization. So quickly running through the concept, the main concept is a virtual building management system, which either sits on top of an existing building management system of a building, or if for smaller buildings acts as a building management system. So we start from the data, like anything we can get from the building, weather data, monitoring, maybe install some off-the-shelf devices that are at the moment quite easy to do, for example, a sensor, a smart thermostat, and interact and collect data from that device. Then we deploy our intelligence, which is forecasting and data analytics and control. This way we're able to enable the service like retrofit design implementation, fall detection, diagnosis and maintenance, optimization of energy and comfort and demand response, and the additional service of welfare and commuting management, which is including the EV charging optimization. So that way we go back to the control of the building, we interact with the hardware in the building, or we provide suggestions to the occupants. So it's quite flexible. We work with a wide range of buildings, like from small ones with no BMS to large ones with a BMS. And getting a bit more deeper, not so technical, inside this virtual BMS, on the left-hand side is our building, on the right-hand side is the cloud, which can be the edge as well. It's not strictly cloud software. So we start from the hardware, where we see a smart thermostat, a sensor, a panel for demand response. All they communicate with the middleware, where we can connect any hardware possible, like different protocols, like MQTT, LoRa, BACnet, and then we collect the data into enterprise server provided by Schneider Electric. And this way, we enable data analytics and forecasting with iScan software provided by IS. We can enable dashboards for suggestions, for monitoring, and for providing the occupants or the building managers with useful insights. And our forecast engine, which combines building physics simulations and forecasting with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the challenge here is usually the physics simulations are quite heavy, done in a desktop computer. So we had to come up with a lighter version to put on the cloud to do accurate physics simulations. And also using API, we can enable any other service that can use the energy data to provide non-energy service. So I was talking about our demo site. So you see we have 4 and different between them in different climate zones, different sizes, different use. We have a potato facility in Ireland, which is a commercial one. Our head office is in Glasgow, IS headquarters, Helix building. This is a care home in Italy, very strict with energy comfort, so it's a unique use case. And a large office building in Grenoble. So each of them are different case. So on the smaller buildings, we're deploying the virtual BMS, where there is no BMS, just IoT devices that we will install. And here we combine in the large buildings with retrofits. So this building has been retrofitted, and an existing BMS, which is installed by Schneider Electric. So I just wanted to give you some insight of our results, because yeah, we're in the middle way of the project, but this event was mostly for us to introduce our project. So I highly recommend you to go to our website and download our public reports, which are very nice to read. Unfortunately, I cannot present to you the full range of our results so far. So that's a comparison between our controller of heating, which is an intelligent algorithm that uses data from calibrated models, building energy models that are very accurate, and compares with some standard strategies for heating, like rule-based, based on just simple rules to control your heating, maximum comfort. So here is that I want maximum comfort for my occupants. And here is our reinforcement learning controller. And on the left-hand side is the cost, energy cost comparison. So you see that the rule-based is the cheapest one, while the maximum comfort is the most expensive, and our solution is in between. However, the rule-based violates the comfort that is desired by the occupants. But that test to simulation. So the challenge now is to test this in the real world. That's where pretty much many European projects face difficulties. So you see that is cheaper, it violates the comfort. So we want to optimize comfort and energy use. And basically, our lesson learned so far with our interaction with the demo site is that each building is unique. We cannot generalize. We have to speak with the building owners, with the occupants, to understand their needs, and then try to tailor our solutions to their building. That's quite important. And as my I think I have a slide and one more. So in this one, I just wanted to show you that we calculated the SRI for one of our demos at the Helix building, and at the moment we're at 15%. I think you can see the details on your own because it's very small now for you to look at. And we estimate that after deploying the IPCAM solution with 55. That's again, it's an estimation. It's not a final calculation. So really quick, I think our targets are pretty much similar in this project. So we want to reduce the energy use by 15%. I will not touch energy bills anymore. It's not practice. I might remove it basically. We want to reduce the comfort complaints in parallel, which is a challenge, and also improve indoor air quality. So we're not only about thermal comfort, we touch air quality and visual comfort as well. And then improve the SRI by 10%, prevent and reduce equipment faults and operational faults by 20%, to improve wellness by 20%, and also using our business models to generate revenue by energy savings, to invest in more energy conservation measures. And we will calculate the energy savings that we trigger using measurement verification, and reinvest the savings to more energy conservation measures. And this way we present to the occupant a roadmap for a net zero energy future. So also tomorrow I'm presenting in a paper session a little bit more detail about how we come up with using the calibrated physics model into the operational phase of a building. So I will invite you all to come to, I think it's the AI and digitalization paper session. The rest you can find on our website, and these are our partners. And I think that's me.
So what is our allotted time?
And I guess we have just 10 minutes this
10
time.
minutes, okay.
One question. He is a speaker. For the people that are online, would be best from here, around the table. I will try to set up something. I have one more chair, and I would try to put this without breaking anything. Right, so the camera is up here. Hello, and we have the sound. Hopefully.
Oh, that's camera is actually working.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so the last time it was a lively discussion and it really didn't take much to get things going. So I'm going to encourage people to jump in with questions. Similar themes have come up in the second half of the session around ability to plug in to existing buildings, especially the low automation buildings, open protocols, not open protocols, how do we do that cost effectively, et cetera, et cetera. So I will open the floor for questions. It was a successful approach the last time.
I have a question for Niall. So I think it's an interesting topic that I was talking also with Pedro, and it relates to this technology, that's the edge technology. And you've presented an interesting meter with some relevant capabilities. And my question is whether an isolated edge device, which is not the case, absolutely, because the device provides the feedback to the cloud of what it's doing. But I would say it's isolated in the sense that he's the one with the algorithms, right? Do you agree? And I wonder if that is a solution that makes sense, or whether we should always run the algorithms in the cloud, or an opinion.
I think for me, there's currently no perfect solution to this. In my opinion, it depends on the use. So if it's a case of a sensor that's just pushing information through, we probably don't need the edge solution. We're okay with the API to the cloud. However, in the case of this smart meter that I kind of discussed there, because they need to mount some intelligence onto that in terms of disaggregation algorithms, in terms of troubleshooting, data gap analysis, what they've decided to do is actually host that on an edge device. So that's hosted at the gateway, I believe, before it gets uploaded to the cloud. So I think as these things, evolve and evolve, one of the other big problems that we're having in Ireland, and one kind of, I guess, industry that's not very popular in the media at the moment is data centers. So the more of this cloud-based stuff we do, the more data centers we do, the more pressure that's going to put in the grid, the more, difficulty we have, the more, grid destabilization, things like that. So I think the hybrid approach of having as much heavy on the edge and then the analysis progressed in cloud might be a useful approach. I understand that that's going to add a little bit of complexity in terms of having to have a device on site, which might not be applicable for every application, but I think there's a middle ground there to be explored, in my opinion.
I think our project, your project and my project, we have a credibility problem. Because I think on one side, diversity of application or use cases, this is very good. But at some level, at some low level, we try to all solve the same problem independently. All try to define the to-be standard. And we do not see that by competing with each other, the goals that we want to reach is not reachable just because of us. Well, I mean, not just because of us, but we are not, the diversity is a reason to slow down the process, not to speed up the process. I may nobody responsible of this part because I'm exactly at the same level as you. I mean, it's not an idea to have to say who is guilty about this. But I really think maybe this is a point also for people from the EU. We just have to tackle this in another way because we cannot multiply the projects and then at the end expect that out of the multiplicity of the project, unity will come.
Yeah, just a compliment of this comment. Actually, I've been seeing from a number of projects that there is some convergence coming, at least in what relates to the interoperability problem that Mikhail was talking in the project, on how to have this standardized interoperability between different IoT providers, different data formats, common representations for building components, so semantics, and there is some convergence. And it's been improving over several projects, one after the other. And there, in that aspect, I think that there has been some progress and some convergence. Yeah. From our assessment in the SATO project, some is a serious one already. I
think that your discussion about best approaches by the Commission is very relevant to see how we can make this effort more meaningful. I just would like to say two things. While Niall was talking about the edge, which we also use in SATO, I wonder if edge devices will not cause us trouble in 5 years as being another strategy to provide closed solutions. I think for that reason, I smell very fishy these edge things. They may give us problems in the near future. The other aspect, going back to more efficiency on the Commission, in my opinion, is that all of our projects are like restaurants that serve all sorts of food, because we have residential, care home, factory, airport, big mistake. The projects, each project should focus on a building type that would increase their capabilities of doing it well. They are always asking us to do solutions for everything. And that's, to fail is very easy. Just ask for everything and you'll get pretty crappy results. And I'm not talking about the other people's projects. I'm talking about my own projects, so don't worry.
Is there, I was going to ask the experience around the devices and whether at least the protocols behind them are becoming standard or interoperable between each other. And at least the positive thing about where we're going, and for us, we made a choice to, for the data normalization 65 years ago, to use Haystack, which is the industry standard, at least on our side. There's only a couple, and then there's another standard you can connect it to. But if we wanted just pure business smarts, we'd have made our own standard and no one else can use our data. Forget about it. We made the choice years ago. Haystack it is. We're part of the Haystack industry. That's our example. I would hope, and tell me if it's the opposite, that devices you're playing with are now more and more.
Well, I mean, the intent is to make the solution, well, for all of that anyway, the intent is to make the solution as applicable as possible and as affordable as possible with the least amount of technical input required. So from that perspective, then yes, we are moving towards being as open as we possibly can.
Those using devices, is it standard?
In Nightcam, we're also using Haystack, considering using Haystack now that we have the device from the demo site. So far, we haven't done much of this, and it's a good approach. But we are open. We're testing also solutions that are already in the market. For example, we purchased a thermostat that is already used in buildings and try to work on top of it, on top of what the thermostat can offer. Like if you just go into your building and plug it on and use the app, we can do more than this. We can look at other data in the building, and it's not necessarily that the thermostat will have the same protocols with the sensor that you're using, with the smart plug that you're using, or with other devices you have. So maybe yes, a generalized solution is good. However, in this phase that we do research, it's also good that we are open to use whatever we can, or based on our capabilities. And at some point, we need to get together and say, okay, right now we see in many countries, for example, that the government suggests that you take the thermostat 19 degrees just to say, and do we have to propose anything better than this to not compromise comfort? That's a question we need to think, for example. Because if we take the thermostat 19, the government say we take thermal comfort here and we take energy savings here. Now it goes the opposite that it was like 3 years ago. So maybe we can do better than this and come up to the middle and say we will not take a thermostat 19, but we will bring you the savings that you want. I might took the conversation to another level, but I'm just thinking of loud.
We have to move to the next.
Thank you. And
Similar design.
So next one is the interactive part. We're a bit behind schedule, so we'll try to speed it up. My name is Stijn Verbeke. My colleague Paulina will also assist. We're both working at Vito. We're a partner in the Smart Build for EU project. And in this interactive session, we want to build further actually on the comments just made, trying to jointly make a strategic research and innovation agenda for the EU. So I've just heard the comments. The Commission is asking us to bring this and this in their calls. What is this strategic research innovation agenda? That's actually the guidance that Commission will use for defining the future European calls on smart buildings. So any of the comments you made just now, like we should do and do this in the future, but our current Horizon Europe call or live call or whatever does not ask for this, well, this is the moment to bring all of your brains together and come up with ideas as to what should be the next stages of European R&I funding. It's a massive task, but luckily we've been greatly helped by the white papers that have been produced by the project, and many of you have been involved, and here in the room and those online and the broader smart building innovation community. Based on the things brought up in these white papers, we did an exercise in trying to combine and prioritize coming to 10 key priorities for R&I on smart buildings. There has been a public survey on that. We've left it open, so in case you did not fill this out yet, you still have the opportunity to go to this link. You can also find it on the Smart Build for EU website and fill out a survey to help us give input on whether these priorities are indeed well chosen, well formulated, where you're missing anything. I'll quickly go through the 10. The first one is on interoperability within buildings, so standardization for products at the building level. Next one, closely connected. I think there should be a priority in new calls, also interoperability for the grid, connecting buildings to the external environment. And anything related to protocols for energy flexibility assessment and certification and so forth included. Third one, less technical, but focus on new business models for smart buildings. Going to servitization, common marketplaces for smart building solutions, and so forth. Fourth suggested topic is on testing facilities and living labs. So common case studies, common data sets, regulatory sandboxes, jointly used across EU to bring forward the next innovations in smart buildings. Fifth one, we heard it before, it's not only on energy efficiency, smart buildings will also bring you many other co-benefits, comfort, convenience, health. But we probably need a bit firmer assessment on what it actually is, these co-benefits, and then how to communicate it to people and so forth. So that's a suggested priority. Sixth one is on life cycle environmental impacts of smart buildings, including circularity and repairability of the products we integrate when making smart buildings. Seventh one, specifically focused on making better use of the data, including digital twins, continuous commissioning, data-driven design methods. Eighth one, Also, this technical one is having RNI focused on creating public awareness, end user acceptance, but also training workforce to on smart building related topics. Strongly links with policy support. So we in the project will have two outcomes. One is the strategic research and innovation agenda. The other are policy recommendations. This is one of both linking them. This is RNI for doing this policy support. Ninth priority is on data privacy and cybersecurity in smart buildings. Also very crucial topic, of course. And 10th one is on RNI to support policy development, new regulations, next stages of policy initiatives, including digital building logbooks, SRI, green public procurement for smart buildings, and so forth. So again, as RNI to support policies. So this is quite broadly formulated. Again, the invitation to provide your feedback, if any, on it. Also, if you agree with all, it's actually very useful for us, if you didn't do so, to fill this out, because it makes it stronger towards European Commission services if we can show that there is broad support. What are the next stages based on these priorities and potential fine-tuning? Based on surveys, bilateral interactions, etc., we're gonna develop the full agenda, the draft proposal, and we'll reach out at a given moment to the whole SB community. So if you didn't sign up yet, do so to further provide feedback before having this as a final output of the project. What we would like to do next, to make it a bit interactive, we've prepared 2 questions, and we invite you to use your smartphone and answer those questions. Paulina will introduce them to you.
Maybe in here, if not, and please go to the link menti.com, and when you enter, it will ask you for to place the
Wi-Fi apps.
no, you have to use your
the Euroram or how do I?
Okay. No, I lost it. No. Okay, don't touch it. Yeah.
Very short.
You want me to make it bigger?
30, 87, 29, 65. So while trying to get access, I'll briefly introduce it. The question is, what is the current TRL level of these suggested RNI priorities? Why is this important? Well, there are, of course, multiple funding structures at the European Commission at low TRL level. I hope everybody's aware of what it is, the technology readiness level. Low TRL, say 1, 2, 3, that's purely academic research. The higher TRL levels, 7, 8, 9, that's more business oriented. 9 is you have a market ready product out there. Those in between are technology development. And so depending on the assessment of current TRL levels, Commission might launch different funding mechanisms. For low TRL, this could be, for example, RIAs, research and innovation actions. The higher TRL levels, we're typically looking at innovation actions, life projects, CSAs. And so as part of the SREA, we're going to also propose some of those potential routes to allocate budget. So voila.
We already have 4 inputs, 5, 6, and we can, let's see somehow the graphs is displaying what we have discussed. If it's representing a common opinion. Have you all managed to log in?
Was this a single question? How was this one?
No, there is another one.
This is one question. This is one question, you'll get a second one. If you're unsure or in doubt, you can skip a few, but don't forget to click on, I think it's submit at the very end. Otherwise, we won't see the results popping up. But coming in nicely, we have 17 answers for now. So
everything is kind of turning into meter now. You have
There's generous scoring here, that's for sure.
With 20 inputs, we see that services to improve life cycle environmental impacts is needed to for a higher RNA. Maybe we can go to the next one. You can.
I think if you go to the next, you've lost opportunity to fill out. So can we move, or do you need a few more seconds?
It's interesting that because you will say advanced in product, like DRL is a very well-defined object, and advanced in the product might be differently understood by different members in the audience, right? Just in terms of how we're assessing it.
Theoretically, the DRL is the standard. And
yes, but the object that we're assessing, the priority, people might be understood differently. Just a comment.
Everyone finished?
Does somebody want to comment on the answers they gave right now? Because there was an interesting comment already. Any other for us to capture this input at this moment? No? If not, I think we indeed move to the next.
No, I think. So the second exercise is from these 10 priorities presented on the stand. We would like for you to do the exercise of rank them by priority for EU fund and towards RNI, considering timing, budget, the need for action at the EU level. So now you will see the first, and then you click on the list of different priorities will be displayed. So you can choose one of, like, for you, which from those 10 is the first priority to be funded for research and innovation. And then after you click on it, the second row will appear, and then publish. It's the priority. So you have to run with them. Yeah, okay.
So an excellent opportunity to put yourself in the shoes of an EU policy officer. You have €1 billion to spend on smart building RNI.
We can have more than one first priority level, is that right?
No, so you will prioritize from 1 to 10, the 10 priorities.
Okay.
And so number 1 is the highest priority, and then would be the lowest.
Even after you're feeling it, you can rearrange. You change your mind after, maybe you can rearrange the first, second, third.
So already 18 answers in. Interesting to see priority 7 and 5 are constantly changing order like in a race. So that's a better understanding of co-benefits versus making better use of the data. Testing facilities consistently on a third place right now. Anybody here in the room have any comments on it, on why they give up their list of priorities the way they did?
I think statistically the interesting thing that emerges is that the consensus is not that clear, and you want these two, but the other is not that different, given the small sample, which is an interesting result in itself, right?
Indeed, what I would get out of it is that all of these 10 priorities are indeed important as judged by the public here, and we should not say to the Commission, like, here is a long list, but these 3 require high priority. Maybe to have a bit of further discussion in the further development of the SV, you might get some other comments already and by discussions within the consortium. Interesting to think of, and you can further think of it and come back to us, whether calls should be focusing on these priorities, or whether future calls are, whether we should recommend that a call picks 2, 3, 4 of those priorities and blends this. So are you looking forward to seeing new calls pop up on better understanding of co-benefits and another call on standardization, or rather calls that say work on these 2 or 3 topics at the very same time and integrate?
My personal experience as a reviewer collaborating in projects is that the calls are usually asking for too much in general, just general comment. And people are asking too much at the same time, and there is a lack of focus on that because of it. So the blending of priorities could be dangerous in this sense.
I think we can have 2 categories of projects. We can have projects maybe at the lower PRL where we concentrate on one priority. And at the end, when you have smart building, you could somehow mix all priorities inside the smart building. So maybe to have a demonstration project at a higher level and more focused on demonstration that would mix several priorities.
Okay. Thanks. Interesting suggestion.
Yes, more or less in agreement with previous comments. I'd like to jump into your comment about it. Very, very interesting to work in every project, but I would focus on some type of buildings. But at the end of the day, when you really want to achieve some impact, the users, those who are going to benefit from all those systems that are going to be implemented and made interoperable, they should benefit the users or the people participating owners or well identified specific customers. In that sense, you can imagine that in each case we try to identify what are, for instance, the co-benefits, which by the way may vary from one customer to the other and so on, from one type of building to the other. So there could be, as we said, a mix of priorities. Sometimes, of course, according to balance. Regulation, for instance, is something which is sometimes a bit more difficult. I believe that in that case, it would be more a CSA, for instance, trying to differentiate the type of regulation in terms of different buildings, for instance. If you have a global view in that, you're not going to do it locally. Right. So it's probably right now.
I'm sorry that we are running very late. And people must be starving because I think the break was supposed to be right now. So I would, if you don't mind, I would suggest we move on with the last presentation and we can finish the discussion over lunch. Emmanuel, the floor is yours.
So, hello everybody. So my name is Emmanuel François. I'm the co-founder of the Smart Building Alliance for Smart Cities, which I chaired 10 years long. I'm no more chairman now, but just to explain that 10 years long, I chaired this association. And here I'm here under the format which I created recently. And also I am co-chair of the cross-cutting, the task force 5 for on finance and business model and also data governance. I thank you, Karim, for this occasion to speak about data governance. This is my my topic, and what I will present here is very general. It's not only focusing on building or cities; it's more society. Just as recall, we are entering a hyper-connected world where every citizen, every building, every mobility, every territory, equipment, infrastructure will be connected or are connected in real time and interacting in real time. And that's very important already to understand that, because it's not the case yet, but it's going to happen. And digital is an opportunity to support changes and is at the heart of all the transition. Just to understand, from my point of view, we are facing huge challenges, and I identified 6. And one point, so demographic, economic, environment, is health, identity, and ethics. Ethics is related to data and digital. Just for information, I think digital is unavoidable to solve this. Why? Because today we are trying to solve one problem without holistic approach, without systemic approach. But if we want a holistic and systemic approach, interconnection, finding the consequence of one action on the others, then we need digital and artificial intelligence. And for this, my point of view, data and traceability is also unavoidable, the traceability. And this is something that never happened on the planet, on the world, traceability. And that's the reason why I say we have entered a digital age. This is a real change of our society. And everybody on the planet, even the politics, need to understand it is a civilizational change, and as important as that which followed the invention of writing. And it changed fully the organization of the society and the organization and how we will work together, how we will behave ourselves in the society. And digital is ubiquitous everywhere. And this also is an important point, because this is not a point that most of politicians or managers or citizens have understood. It's ubiquitous. I would say digital is at the origin of a change of human activities. We have hybrid activities now, and it's a massive change. And also the governance of our society, which is also hybrid. We were organized thanks writing society, a society governed by writing in pyramid and in silo. And now it's neuronal and transversal or hybrid, but certainly no more pyramidal and silo. And that's the reason why today we have all these problems, because we still try to organize the building, the city, the society in pyramidal and in silo. And it doesn't work with digital. It doesn't work. So we need to change our mind, our way of thinking. And now I want to highlight something, because this is, from my point of view, a much important thing. Data has become an extension of the human person, or data, what we are giving free. And the risk I see is if we don't regulate it, that we lose part of our own existence. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. And the same for any object. That means if we don't control, it's not a contract on all the data coming from object infrastructure, then we lose also the value, the control of it. And it's very important from my point of view. And now things are moving, accelerating. Why? Because of Web 3.0. It's still a lot of people are thinking it's a gadget. Metaverse is a gadget. Digital twin, well, let's see what happens. But I think, from my point of view, this is a major opportunity, but a major risk. Why? Because we will have interaction in real time between the physical and, well, but the digital and the physical world. So what is defined on the digital world will act on the physical world. And what is happening today in this, in the metaverse or the digital twin? No rules, no codes, almost, or new rules of codes, but almost no rules. And one word is code is law. That means everybody is doing what he wants. And I think here that there is a major issue and a major challenge. So first into this observation, I have some recommendations. Digital is ubiquitous. I think we should have established an authentic digital culture for all citizens, even at the age of 6 years. It's happening in China, but well, in France, it's not the case. I don't know how it is in other countries, but I think it should be the first thing that children learns as writing. Data is a resource in itself and is a fuel of a new economy, a token economy. Data should be considered as a common good. It is not the case today. The one who gets the data say it's not a common good. It's not shared. So we need to define the rules. IA is becoming an integral part of any decision-making process. But we have no transparency on the algorithm. I think we should apply code of ethics of the stakeholders from decision to the applications. And then traceability, as I said, is unavoidable and is a prerequisite for a society more responsible. Some highlights: build new legal and regulatory frameworks, preserving individual freedom, ensure local shared governance of data with secure and controlled access. And there is another point. This is my point. I hope you will share. I think today we are speaking about human rights. It has been written 200 years ago. If you look at the human rights, it is no more adapted to this new age, digital age. And we think we should rewrite Europe, the human rights at the digital age, and concerning also how the traceability of everybody is organized. That's my point of view. I wanted to share. So, as you see, data governance is a must. Concerning a smart building, a lot of things have been said. What we see today, we are still thinking in silo: energy, water, spaces, security, but not making or less making cross-cutting and contextualizing the data. And without that, I say we will not succeed to be performant or to have a citizen or user acceptance, because it's too direct. Another point is observation is a service provider, energy, for instance. Keep the data, and you have the user have no use data or less. and they use it on their own profit. So I think it's a real problem. And the owner, a building owner, is giving the data of its building or the user for free. And he's forgetting that at the end, he's giving part value of the building, because the value of the building will depend from the data you will treat. So it's a major issue. I say it for the building, but it's also for the city and for the rest. So one recommendation, and this will cross what has been said before. I think that data needs stored locally in an OS, operating system, or data hub, with a shared governance. So governance binding all the stakeholders, not only one, but all the stakeholders. And the access needs to be contracted in time according to level of services. So now back to energy, more focus on energy. What I'm saying, we see that energy cost will be almost by 10. So that means instead of 3 euros per square meters, we are coming to 30 euros. If you add the rent cost, we are around by 60 euros. What will bring the efficiency of an operating system and data governance on the building, at least 30%. So that means on both things, energy and rent, so the spaces, the operating system is paid. So I would say there is no use to wait. We need to have an OS in every building, every city. That's my assessment. And so that's a recommendation. Bring at the same time the governance of linking every stakeholders. And here I would like to highlight that this governance of the data should be assessed, certified by blockchain. And the idea also is that every building has its value in token, in NFT, and combining all the stakeholders. This is something we didn't speak too much in the workshop, but now I'm more aware of that. And there are experiences, platform which will create a view of a building in NFT and combining all the stakeholders. That means if the stakeholders has done a good job, conform to the promise of use during the life of the building, then the NFT will grow, and his share in the NFT will grow too. And of course, open and interval system is a recommendation, and this is the first recommendation. Here, I will finish. So, smart building revolution. My assessment is to say there won't be any smart building if there is no OS. And what I just want to recall, we had all portable and telephone, and suddenly it became a smartphone because there were OS in the smartphone. And this is the same for the building. This should be the same for the building. And this is the first message I want to send to the EU. Why? Because if Europe is not aware of that, and we don't control the OS of the building and the cities, then it's maybe Microsoft or any other companies. But it is a question of sovereignty. A question of sovereignty. You see today, when you have a problem on your OS, on your PC, then you cannot work because there is a bug. It can happen. But can you imagine there is a bug in the OS of a building or a city? It's, I think we cannot be dependent of any industrial, and especially foreign industrial. And that's what I want to highlight, because for sure we are going more and more in this direction. OS of building, OS of city. And that's the vision I want to share. I shared already last year at the Hub that every building are linked together and all the OS are linked together. If we want to speak to smart grid, that means there is an OS in every building and these OS are linked together. And you can then have a clever intelligence of this building and take decision in real time, taking into account all the usages. What will happen in France in December? I'm sure we will say you cannot consume more than 60% of energy. And then we will say, on this building, you will have only that. And who will decide? Nobody, I don't know, but nobody will have information about the usages. Nobody will know that, for instance, there is a medicine with charging his car, and he needs to. You understand? So it will be critical. I just give this example, but that if we have OS, if we know the usages, then this will not happen. As a conclusion, I would say we need to build a local storage of data and metadata with interconnection of all OS for a macro approach. This doesn't happen today. And this not in silo, but fully transversal. Build mini data center. Today, the trend is to have large, big data center. And nobody knows what is in it. I say no, we should have mini data center. And every citizen, when he walks in the street, he sees this data center and he knows that his data or the data of his neighbor are stored in this mini data center. And that's the reason why I say rather chapels are cathedrals. We need to organize also the governance. And here I say we should have a new assembly, citizen assembly, which I call Ecclesia. If you look in Greek, Ecclesia is a citizen assembly. And I say we need to have digital Ecclesia, digital assembly. This is major thing. We will not have acceptance of the citizens if they are not involved in the data governance. For sure. Maybe this happens in other countries, like for instance, China, but we are in Europe and we need to show a new path. So we know that we need to mandate also a digital trust party. That means, of course, you have a digital assembly, but also you need to have an organization or somebody who is a digital trust party. Just for making fun, I say it's a digital grid, you know. The responsible of the data security, the confidentiality, and as well as the system resilience. And this is the organization or who is contracting on behalf of the user, on behalf of the citizen, with service operators. So that means he gives the access to the data on certain time, certain conditions, but not all the data. Not all the data. And this can be, for instance, a property manager in the building, or a condominium trustee, or what else, a mayor. I discussed with mayor in France, and they understood the responsibility they have. And then I would say, let's provide every citizen with digital identity that he could master, allowing him a full digital and social acceptance of existence. This is crucial. Today, we have not that. And I think if we move forward again in digitalization of building, cities, society, without taking the time of that, it could be a disaster, a mess. And concerning the organization, I think we are still in a top bottom organization. In French, say Jacobin organization. But here, what I suggest is to start from the citizen, the first step, and then combine citizens together and with a real organization. So bottom-up organization, a Girondin organization or vision. That was my message, and I wish it was interesting for you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Emmanuel, for this inspiring presentation, for sharing your views on data governance. This was the end of our workshop. I'm sure this presentation will trigger a lot of discussions over lunchtime. Hopefully, since we are a bit late, the traffic light is now full green for the lunch and there won't be any queue. I would like to thank our audience, both in person and online. Thanks a lot for participating to this workshop and for contributing to the presentation or to the votes on priorities. And yeah, stay tuned and follow our website to know more. Thank you.
Merci.